G'day everybody, it's Danny here from Board Game Place, where we talk about really cool, fun Euro games and combine it with an element of nature, fun and quirkiness. In this video, we're going to be looking at my favorite Euro games, ones that you would usually play at multiplayer level, but I actually prefer to play them only at 2 players, and they rank pretty highly on the Board Game Geek list. Let's go! So for this 2-player list video, I thought I'd do things slightly differently. There's a whole collection of Euro games on my shelf that I only like playing at the 2-player level. Whilst the games are expansive enough that you can play them at 3 players, 4 players, and sometimes 5 or 6 players, and there's a really cool level of interaction at those high player counts, the fact that you're going to be spending a lot of time on your turn, thinking through your moves and how that impacts your player board, and also in the main central game area, is something that I factor in when I play a game. Do I want to get that same satisfying feeling of playing a crunchy Euro with my significant other? Then maybe that's what I actually prefer to do. And so that was the inspiration for this video, thinking about multiplayer games that just really work well at the 2-player count. Now, I'm someone who really loves a good cooperative game, and this cooperative game that I really love playing at 2 players is one that has a unique twist on the early colonization theme. In fact, in this game, you're playing different spirits with different powers, and there's some really cool card synergies that you can actually play in this game. And the game is Spirit Island. The reason I enjoy Spirit Island at the 2-player level is because the island board is much smaller. You only have to talk to one other person when you're trying to negotiate your way through different challenges that are presented to you by the game, which might include cascading blight, invaders setting up their settlements, and also talking about how you're going to approach a problem from your perspective. Having only the 2 different perspectives come together means that the game feels a lot more focused. Also, with the smaller board, you're able to kind of traverse the geography of the board a little bit more easily with your spirit, and the fact that we each control an asymmetric spirit with very distinct playstyles and different powers means that you still feel like you have ownership on the cooperative element of the game. The game has this really cool way of generating fear, and I think by combining your 2 strategies and your approaches to the game, you tend to have this much more thoroughly enjoyable experience of like, wow, look, this is what's happened to our island. This is what we're going to do to try and decolonize and scare those settlers away, to try and protect what we've had for so long. It's a beautiful marriage of Euro mechanics, conversation, and it does almost feel like you're sitting at a little mini board meeting when you play this game, and I love it as a couples game. The next game is one that really plays to the theme of nature and building a really cool engine. In fact, one that's run by eggs and placing different birds into your habitat. The game is Wingspan. Wingspan is a game that I've loved more and more over time. In fact, I prefer playing Wingspan by combining all of the different expansions into one deck. The reason why I like it at a 2-player level is because a lot of the times in Wingspan, you're really doing your own thing. There's quite limited interactivity with other players at the table. So playing this at the 4-player count really quite drags a lot for me, mainly because you're just waiting for each player to trigger their combos, get their resources, and do what they want to do. And their actions don't really impact what you're doing. Yes, there's a race to satisfy certain goals at the beginning of every round, and I know some of the later expansions does introduce some minor level of interaction, but waiting for 3 players to take like a 10-minute turn is something that isn't really as satisfying for me. But at a 2-player level, wow, Wingspan becomes a head-to-head competitive game, and I know they've just introduced the Asia expansion, which does include a duel mode, which I think is really cool, but I just like playing Wingspan with my partner and seeing how my engine could be more efficient than my partner's engine. There was one game in my board game collection that I would have ranked as #1 for quite a number of years. There was something really perfect about the game. The fact that you could build little properties along a trail, you sift through your deck of cards to try and cultivate the best and highest quality cattle in your hand, and then you kind of dump them off at the end of the board to move this train along to gain bonuses, points, and extra actions. The game I'm talking about is Great Western Trail. But more recently, another game has kind of superseded that game for me that I think is really enjoyable at the 2-player level. And it is Great Western Trail Argentina. Now, when I heard about Great Western Trail Argentina, I thought, how can they take a game that I love so much and really reinvent it in a way to make me love the game more? Because I was thinking in my head, the game is almost perfect in my mind. Yet Argentina seems to take the well fleshed out mechanics of the original game and extends them 1 or 2 steps further. Some of the major differences are introducing grain as a resource, adding a timing element to the ship. So in the original game, you try and, get your engine down and increase your breeding value to put out your discs on certain stations. Here, the ships are timed to leave the board and head to other destinations. So you've got to really kind of focus on getting to those ships on time. The other thing is that there are shortcuts in the game. So that means as your train moves down the railway track, you can actually exit the trail earlier, avoiding some of the riskier parts of the board, which I think creates for some extra decision making. But the thing that I really like about the game is the introduction of the strength mechanism. The idea that you can play a cattle card from your hand for its strength value, meaning that you can get rid of it from your hand to then hire a farmer to then help you increase your ability to gain grain, but also gain extra bonuses. The little worker tiles also have the strength symbol, which means now those worker tiles have 2 functions to them. You can decide to use those worker tiles to increase and get bonuses on your player board, or you can use those worker tiles to add strength for further actions later in the game. And so the reason why I like it at 2 is the fact that you get to build these properties along the trail. And as you move your worker through the properties and across the trails, you get to stop and pass over other people's property and pay them a fee, or you get to land on your own property and try and build your engine in this kind of geographical Kalis style linear fashion. I love the to and fro and head-to-head competitiveness of trying to race your trains down the track, and the fact that the turns are quite relatively short for such a thinky, crunchy game means that I really enjoy the tempo of the game. Now, sometimes when you're playing with your significant other or one of your best friends, it can get a little bit dicey when it comes to playing a head-to-head 2-player game. One of my favorite dicey games to play that I have in my collection that I like to play on a date night is a game called Grand Austria Hotel. Grand Austria Hotel is a brilliant dice drafting game. Each round, you're going to be rolling the white dice and they're going to be categorized into 6 different columns, each column with a different action. And whichever dice you pick from whichever column it's in, however many dice are in that column, is how many times you get to trigger that particular action, which I think is a brilliant mechanic. And when it comes to the 2-player level, the dice drafting becomes more of a head-to-head game where the die that you pick will impact the die that the next person picks. And you do snake draft the dice, meaning that the first player takes a die, the second player takes 2, and then it goes back to the first player. There's a consequential effect when it comes to going, ooh, I really want to take the strudel action, but then I've only got, 2 dice in that column. So then you've got to try and think about how the distribution of the dice actually impacts your game plan and how that impacts your opponent's game plan as well. What I really like about this game is I've always had this fascination about starting a hotel or playing games in and around hotels and satisfying guests. In this game, you are satisfying different colored guests, which you then house into your hotel, and you try and kind of create little regions where you get to score points based on the color that guest is and the color of the hotel room. And you're trying to chain different regions together, and as you house them further up in your hotel, they're going to cost you more money as well. And I love that puzzle element. The dice that you take have a consequential action on so many different things. So if you really liked what you've seen so far today, please consider giving me a like and subscribe. And now one of my all-time favorite multiplayer Euro games to play at the 2-player level is The Castles of Burgundy. Sometimes a classic game is a good game, and sometimes it's better to not just mess with a classic game because they're just so good. One of my favorite two-player games to play is Castles of Burgundy. It's one that I've probably really enjoyed as a two-player puzzle and competitive game experience. What I love about Castles of Burgundy is that it uses 2 dice in such an innovative, crunchy and weighted manner. The idea that you're using the dice to draft hex tiles from a board and putting them in your little depot, and then you're using the numbers on your dice to then deploy them on your map. And the fact that you can only deploy those tiles so that they're sitting adjacent to other tiles on your map means that your game plan is going to be quite well thought out. Each of the tiles that you places out serves as a different way to score points or generate you points in some way, whether it be collecting a field of sheep or using particular building abilities to get you extra things or even endgame scoring, or using the ship tiles to try and advance and become the first player in the next round, which is superbly important. This puzzling map of trying to piece everything together and optimize your points and exploiting the building abilities all just comes together in such a nice, neat package. Castles of Burgundy, yes, it's pretty burgundy on the front cover, but that doesn't really tell you how fun and crunchy and great this puzzle experience is. I just find that at the 2-player level, the turns are really quick. I can get a tile and put it on my board. The options are a little bit more tighter. You can feel and see how your partner is evolving their board, and you can really kind of play off that and go, ooh, how many ship tiles are left out on the marker board? Maybe I'm going to take that ship tile so my opponent can't take it. There's more opportunity to try and kind of one-up your opponent and also try and deny things that they really need, and they can also deny things from you, forcing you to adjust your strategy and the way you're scoring, the way you're taking the tiles and filling out your board. There is just so many satisfying buttons to push that makes this game super enjoyable, and it has that really nice crunchy replay feeling about it. And so what are some of your favorite multiplayer Euro games that you like to play only at the 2-player count? Please let me know in the comment section below. If you're a Patreon supporter, I want to say a huge shout out and thank you for continually supporting and helping this channel grow. Your name's going to appear in the credit screen. Otherwise, there's a huge range of different Euro game videos that appear on my main channel page, so please feel free to check that out. This is Danny signing out. I hope your next game is a fun one. Goodbye!